few reasons why I like to run in the morning is because number one, it's normally a lot cooler in the morning, and another reason is that a lot of times there are not as many people on the road, and that really allows me to think to myself, and it really makes allows me to get into my thoughts without even thinking about it. Um, a lot of my afternoon runs, I have to be more. I have to be more attentive just because there's a lot more cars out. There's people making uh, turns, and there's a lot of foot traffic. Most of the times, so that's kind of a reason why I like to have morning runs. Normally, if if the weather is a little better, I like to mix it up just to see, try to experiment with morning and afternoon runs, and then kind of compare and analyze my times and see which one would be best. And the morning runs just benefit because a lot of the races that I sign up for are normally in the mornings. So typically you try to mimic as much as possible, given the time that you run, and also location. If let's say if I were to go to another climate, I would probably have to climatize myself to try to get used to that type of weather wherever I may be running a race. Uh, there's a there's a run that I had recently, where I think it was like a 5 miler, where after I was finished, uh, kind of gave out a loud sigh, and sure enough, there was someone in the distance. I'd say maybe like 100 yards. He was looking at me, and he kind of said like, "Oh, uh, is it worth it?" Meaning like, was the run worth it for, I guess, the torture that I just put myself through, the 5 mile run that I put myself through. And I kind of laughed at it, and I responded to him and said, "It's always worth it." And uh, that comment that that guy gave to me stuck with me for quite some time. I would say it was about maybe 2 months ago, and uh, even though he, even though we don't know who each other are, uh, uh, that comment really resonated with me, and um, really made me think of the reason why I'm doing this. Is because it's always worth it to try to improve your body. Um, one thing one thing that I wish learned or knew sooner was the power of movement, of being able to move, being able to walk. When I first started running in 2013, I never had any of these mental thoughts. It was more focused on doing it. I was doing it for different reasons, and the mental side of my the mental side of my being was not as strong as who I am now. Um, yeah, like I'm so appreciative that I found I found running, and I'm able to move my body in a manner that challenges myself each and every day. Uh, I'm very appreciative because there are some people who don't have the same opportunities, and I think celebrating what you have is very important. Knowing your strengths, your weaknesses, what you need to improve on, what you lack. I think accepting and learning to be better with what you have is a very important. Coming back to the movement subject, I have encountered a few conversations in my life where we would be talking about recovery, like how do you recover from an injury and things like that. And one thing I find that happens frequently is a lot of people would always say that you need to rest as much as possible. And while I do agree that rest is vital to lots of recovery, I think going straight to rest without any type of rehabilitation plan in place, I think it makes it worse when you don't include some sort of rehab, whether it be lighter weight training or any type of physical therapy. And if you kind of flat out just stop any movement in general, I feel that your muscles tighten up. It also is very unfortunate that the world we live in nowadays is all centered and focused on getting to point A to point B in the laziest manner possible, whether it be by car, train, plane, even have trams take you from point A to point B. I understand that there's that convenience factor for certain industries, and to make the consumer work less. I mean, especially for me, I have a desk job, and 8 hours of the day is spent just sitting in a chair and looking at a computer. So any chance I get, I always try to move my body. One thing my mom always nags at me about is she's always concerned that running will deteriorate my knees, and running will give me pain in the future, because I'm always running on concrete and the surfaces are very hard. And on the contrary, I think practicing running and practicing having your feet on different surfaces is very important for your muscles and tendons. I think I think the more we practice something, the more we get used to it. A lot of times, people get injuries because they didn't practice something enough. Uh, I mean, there are certain circumstances where the injury is unpreventable, but I believe that to a certain extent, things could be prevented. Uh, there's a YouTube channel, I think it's called Knees Over Toes Guy. I believe he tore his ACL, and when he finally healed, he didn't think he would ever recover 100%, and lo and behold, he was able to get back, if not better than prior to his injury. And he's always a person to tout and say that preventative measures for any knee injuries, they're all preventable. You just need to practice, and you need to learn how to prevent those type of injuries. So I really recommend that guy. I didn't start watching him. Maybe I started watching him maybe in 2020 or 2021, and it really opened my eyes. It's kind of crazy because no matter what stage of the journey you're on, what's crazy is that you can always learn more. You can always find another way to be more efficient. And I think that's a very beautiful thing to have, is that you go out there, you experiment what you like, what you like to do to keep your body moving, and you run with it. You learn as much as you can about it. You learn how to prevent injuries, how to stretch muscles. It's kind of an amazing thing to go day by day and experiment with different exercises, different movements. I'm learning. I look at every single day as a learning opportunity to strengthen either my physical self or my mental self, and anything that I can read to move my journey forward, I'm open for that. This week and the prior week, I've been a little bit all over the place in terms of my wake up time, and so if I wake up a little bit later, typically my workouts are cut a little bit shorter. It's just how it goes sometimes, and there's really not much you could do, but kind of plan for the next day and try to be better. Things are never going to go according to plan, but the more you plan, the better your outcome would be. I experimented with different angles this week. Normally for my deadlifts, you get kind of like a front diagonal side, front diagonal perspective, and this time I changed it up to kind of like a side profile, so I can really kind of see the bar path and how my body's moving. That's it for this week. Catch you on the flippity flip.